This is Move Week. This has been dubbed Move Week by both sides, and yet it seems neither side wants to move. What do we know at this point then, David?
Yes, I'm getting very cautious about dubbing any day, particularly a crunch time, because, of course, we've been here, we've heard this sort of language before, but of course the timetable is getting incredibly tight now. If there's a chance to get some sort of deal that is ratified by both the EU and the British Parliament in time for December the 31st, but right now, both sides still digging in their heels. They're both saying the other sides need to shift their position on these big sticking points we've been talking about for months now, fishing and this question about state aid. And still nobody is blinking. So we've had some reports behind the scenes that maybe the Europeans are prepared to shift their position on fish in exchange perhaps for something like access to energy markets, but we still don't have the details of that. Both sides still digging in their heels, saying we're running out of time, and yet neither of them willing to really make that big move as yet to actually get a deal done.
Yeah, and so in terms of timing, David, is the only deadline that really matters the 31st of December? It seems as if that's been the playbook for these conversations in the past.
Yes, that's right. I really am starting to think this may drag on a bit. I may be wrong, but it seems like, talks really could go on until 10 to midnight on New Year's Eve. We've seen enough EU negotiations and crunch summits, haven't we, to know that a deal only ultimately gets done when the real hard deadline is approaching and people have a gun to their head. So would there be a way to fudge things to get us up to the end of December so that goods and services can keep flowing across the borders to avoid any of the big economic disruption that the leaders on both sides of the channel really want to avoid? But still, not get that big deal inked in time. I think I'm afraid this may drag on for a few more weeks. Now, of course, big thing has changed the last few days. That is Dominic Cummings' departure from Downing Street. Does that change the calculations a little bit? Because one of the strongest advocates for a big break, more of a harder Brexit, he's now gone. Does that mean Mr. Johnson is preparing to shift ground a bit and to move into a slightly softer zone? We haven't had any sign of that yet, and we mentioned David Frost tweeting that he's holding the line, but that could be a development in the coming days.